What's good, GLYFE Nation? It's Akil, the real deal with zeal and mass appeal. And I'm so glad to be with you. This is my first interview in 2022. We're in a brand new venue. We're at the Tuscan Highlands Esports Arena. You see, I got the Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox station behind me. It's really a super fresh blessing to be back, making it do what it do, putting my passion into action when it comes to gaming, because we know gaming can heal. And today, we got some bosses from Generation Esports joining us. We have Jonathan, the VP of Growth, and Mason, CEO and co-founder of Generation Esports. First, Jonathan, what's good? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I appreciate having us out here on a Friday and on a holiday weekend. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And how are you doing, Mason?
Doing well. Thanks for having
Yeah.
us.
Oh yeah, come on now. This is a dream come true for me to be talking about video games. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of talking about video games, nowadays I've been playing a mobile game just because I'm running around. I play a Final Fantasy Tactics game called War of the Visions, and I'm curious, what games are you playing the most right now? We can start with you, Mason. What game do you play the most often?
Well, I just took a kind of vacation. I worked most of the time, but I beat the new Pokemon game, and then
Oh, nice.
I, yeah,
Arceus.
yeah, and then I just started Lost Ark when I got back, so it was kind of perfect timing. I beat that, and then Lost Ark released, and so now I'm kind of addicted to that because I'm a big Diablo guy. I usually play the seasons and try to get on the leaderboards and stuff like that. So
Oh, okay, okay. You be sweating. All right.
when I can, yeah, when I have some time.
And what about you, Jonathan? What are you gaming on the most?
Oh, I'm going to sound old here because I am still grinding on Apex. I play Apex a lot. And I also started, this is also going to show that I'm behind on everything, but Super Meat Boy
Oh,
on PlayStation since it's out on there. So it was a very good deal. And it's been a lot of fun playing that.
hey, it's nothing wrong with being a retro gamer. You know, it's good for the pockets and nostalgia too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks again for joining us. And I want to know what motivated you to pursue a career and get involved with Generation Esports. Will you tell us, Jonathan, how you became and what inspired you to become the VP of Growth?
Yeah, I am probably one of the newest members on the executive team here. I actually come from the traditional sports world. So before this, I was at a company called Learfield, where I started Level Next on the collegiate esports scene, and also helped launch their digital division there 4.5 years ago. And then before that, I was at a massive sports talent agency called Wasserman, where I had a number of clients, including Riot Games. You're talking way back when professional esports was just starting. But then other clients like Airbnb, and one small thing that you may or may not have heard about is that Los Angeles is hosting the Olympics in 2028. We helped get that bid for LA. And so there's been a lot of, fun things I've kind of dabbled in here, but really jumped over into esports fully in October of last year, 2021. And frankly, it was because when I met Mason and I met a few of the other co-founders here, I genuinely believed in their mission and their passion for the space. I've been around gaming and esports obviously for a while now, but I always was hesitant to go fully into esports. And so when they kind of talked me and coerced me in to it, I was 100% sold. So I've been here since, and I think we've done a lot in just a few months, and I'm really excited to what we can do this year and beyond.
Yo, thank you for sharing. It sounds like you're bringing such diversity of experience to the role. And I'm glad that you switched over to esports finally.
I'd like to think that too. And Mason knows about this too. But we just wrapped up. I just wrapped up being an advisor for a new movie or documentary that just launched a week and a half ago on CBS Sports. So it's been a lot of fun. And again, it's, bringing a lot of background into some more familiar things into the esports world, I think can only go a long way because esports is continuing to grow and gaming is always big. So it's exciting.
It is, and it's no surprise to me that Mason recruited a talented man like yourself. So Mason, tell us how you got in that position to be the boss to be providing opportunities like this to Jonathan. How did you become the CEO and co-founder of Generation Esports?
Yeah, I think it was actually Steve Jobs who said, hire people that are smarter than you. that's kind of what, our mentality has been since we started this thing as a passion project. Charles and I and AJ, and we were just, we were young and didn't know what we wanted to do with our lives. And we knew we wanted to do something in gaming and have a positive impact. And conversations started about, high school wasn't really the greatest time. And, Charlie and I came from a massive high school, 6A school. It only cared about football, and we didn't have anything. We didn't feel like we belonged. And we knew a bunch of other people who felt the same way. So it was really kind of derived from giving back to that in a way that was cool and interesting and fun. And this was probably around the time that Jonathan was working with Riot, but that's when it was, 10, 11 years ago when we were watching, LCS on just super underground, back in the old, like Moscow 5 TSM days. So yeah, it just kind of evolved into, we're just some gamers that ended up with something really interesting and unique and cool. And it kept growing and growing and growing. And we personally grew and kept growing into our roles and found our lanes eventually. And now we're a lot bigger than high school and focused on the Scholastic space still. So
Yeah, not just high school, but also middle school, which I think is great, reaching the youth at even a younger age. And here you just talk about how it was a passion for you, but it developed into your passion developed into a career based off your lifestyle and just you being dedicated to it. So respect. And I think that's testament to how when we dedicate ourselves to what we love, you can make a living off of it. So, mad respect to both of you. That's dope.
Yeah, it was I think a little bit of luck, but yeah, a lot of grinding and sacrifice too. So
no doubt about it. And you're humble. We appreciate that. So what's been really popping and buzzing around, especially in my ear, is what's been going on with exclusivity and Scholastic Esports, and especially this company PlayVS and some of the deals that they're perhaps claiming to have, and how it's been affecting gamers in school, and especially what I've been seeing in the community with educators, players, and even parents, that they feel like PlayVS doesn't have the students' best interest in mind, that it might be more so about profit for them. And I'm just curious, what do you think about that? What do you have? Any hot takes about that you want to share with us? PlayVS?
yeah, we could probably talk a lot about that. Jonathan, do you want to take the first crack at that one?
Yeah. Mason's right. We could talk a lot about this. And we both love to talk when you get us going here. I think a couple things right now, what makes this really interesting is that professional esports, as I mentioned, because I've dated myself already, really kind of started up about a decade ago. And it about 5 years ago was really when it started to take off, as Overwatch League and other titles kind of took off as well. From the pro esports scene, it's still growing, but that then lended itself into Scholastic Esports. When we talk about Scholastic Esports, we're talking about students who are competitively playing video games. So that's college, middle school, high school, etc. for there. And, the only reason why Scholastic Esports exists is because educators want to provide for their students. And it's always about, how can we support educators? How can we support students and put their best interest out there? And so the last, I want to say 6 months, it's really gone to a next level, but it's been around for a while. And it's a common thing that we think about, which is what are the businesses out there, and no matter what industry, what are they doing to put their consumers first versus their own personal interests there? And so, I frankly can't speak to what PlayVS is doing or, any other organization is doing. What I can speak to is what we're doing here at Generation Esports. And that is, if you saw, I think it's now been 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. We actually, Mason penned a statement that we put out, putting a stake in the ground that we will never do exclusivities, because at the end of the day, we believe that esports and gaming is about inclusivity, not exclusivity, the exact opposite of that. And, a couple other things, because I'm a stats guy here, 97% of 12 to 17-year-olds play video games, and so if you're doing something that alienates pretty much all gamers out there, are you really doing something that is benefiting the industry overall that is just now starting to take off? And the other thing I'll add to, one more thing from an exclusivity standpoint, if you look at any organization that has looked to monopolize, look at telecom with, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, et cetera. They also had, they reached a point where you had enough consumer base to where it made sense. Esports is still growing. We don't have enough consumers yet to make something like that even remotely make sense. And so without that, it doesn't make sense from a business sense. It doesn't make sense from a consumer sense, and it only alienates them. And we're seeing that from the backlash from educators and students. And frankly, since we've put out that statement on Mason's behalf, we've only received positive thoughts and praises. And I could talk about this all day, but I also don't have a speaking voice, so maybe I'll pass up to a little bit better, which is Mason.
Yeah, and thanks, Jonathan. I mean, you can kind of tell he's more of the business-minded person. For me, it's more personal, right? Like those kids were me in high school, and Jonathan may have the same story too. But that was really the founding team. That's who we were in high school, and I just can't imagine an organization coming in and saying, you're not allowed to play this game that you bought at your school, and then you think about the teachers and the principal and how much time and effort they put in. And what does the principal now think? Okay, well, we just bought some computers and we just approved this club and it was a trial basis. And now you're saying that we can't play these games. I mean, to me, it's just super divisive. It hurts everybody. And then you look at it from a pipeline perspective. So from high school to college and even amateur and pro, what I don't understand the reasoning behind it, because you would think you would want mass distribution of your game and especially tournament experience. And so you're destroying your foundation in a way to the point where overnight you're killing an entire pillar of your foundation. So high school kids are going to be the next generation of your pro scene and your amateur scene. So why would you want to destroy that? And so to me, it doesn't make sense. Like as Jonathan was saying, it doesn't make sense. It's divisive. It's exclusive, like exclusivity. But on a personal note, it's heartbreaking. I mean, we get stories and notes written from parents and students themselves. And there have been some people that have posted, really long Twitter posts about how it affected them. And reading that stuff it breaks my heart, because that was me. I mean, that was me in high school. And I can't believe, we've reached out to those that we've seen, but it just, on a personal note, it's hurtful. And I know it's hurtful to a lot of others in the scene, because I've gotten a ton of outreach from, industry leaders and strong voices in the esports and Scholastic Esports community, just kind of joining us in solidarity against the exclusivity that's happening.
Yeah, without a doubt. I saw the support for your post on Twitter and on Instagram from Generation Esports. And I agree. To me, it's so beautiful to witness through my lifetime that now high school students can get varsity jackets for lettering in the game that they dedicate themselves to, that they're recognized as athletes. And it is confusing why they would add barriers to entry or limit what the young gamers can do. It seems like it would be more so about profit if they're doing these things than bringing up the next generation. of
Yeah.
professional gamers?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up barriers of entry. So that's something that we've been trying to tear down for 5+ years, since we started charging for the leagues, just to stay alive and have the service be there. Um, Barrier of entry has been such a huge topic for us that our goal is to get the cost to the student to zero, and we have a number of different ways that we're going about that. But when you add another barrier to something that already is so difficult, I mean, you have to have, a lot of people don't even have internet. I mean, that's how bad it is. You get out into the low income areas, and it's just, it's, again, it's heartbreaking that, okay, now that they're at school or they have internet, they have to go home where they don't have internet, and they can't play even at school now. So it's, you're hurting not just that, but the lower income areas are really the ones that are being affected most by this kind of divisive exclusivity and what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, again, numbers guy, I can bust out charts here, but I don't want to put everybody to sleep. Nearly half of colleges have college esports programs. About 1/3 of high schools have esports programs. And if you looked at it even 5 years ago, and frankly, almost 3 years ago, that number was maybe 1/3 of that across the board, if not less. And so Scholastic Esports has come a long way. What Mason's talking to is by doing these exclusivities and locking people out, the people you're actually hurting are the schools that don't have esports programs that already are struggling. A lot of the esports program or schools that don't have esports programs are from low income areas or disenfranchised areas who already struggle with the digital divide. And, I struggle hearing that because our whole purpose of what we want is for everybody to enjoy the feeling of competitive gaming. And it makes it so much more incredibly hard to reach those people when they are begging us, how can we start an esports programs, or how can we, be a part of something that has historically been for wealthier, higher income people. So I think that is a really important issue. And I always go back, one last point I'll make is I'll always go back to the educators. Educators don't get paid enough. We've seen that over the last 2 years with the pandemic, having to switch and change everything virtually here. Educators don't get paid enough. They do this because of their passion for their students. And when you do something that causes even more of a headache and more of a barrier for them, they genuinely just want to help out their students. And we're doing them a disservice if we're not listening to them and hearing their voice out that they so desperately have asked to be heard.
I agree. So what do we need to do to change? What can we change to continue to support our students and our educators in Scholastic Esports?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the community as a whole needs to come together. We've always had the kind of rising tides mentality, and there's some people in the space that don't have that, and they want everything for themselves. And there's a lot of really great organizations that are more local that are running high school, middle school events, and we want to be able to support them. Even if it's to the detriment of us, but in the long run, I think that overall supporting everyone just lends to the reason why we started this company in the first place. I mean, it's weird to say as a for-profit, but it's our passion is student first. Every decision that we make is, does this give more opportunity to the student? That's our North Star. So I think if everyone had that mentality, then things would get a lot better.
I agree. Wow. And so we talked about why the deals are bad, about the exclusivity, especially hurting the lower income areas. So when it comes to being inclusive in Scholastic Esports, how do you imagine the future? Like, what are you working towards of Generation Esports to keep it inclusive?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want everyone to be able to have a seat at the table, right? They purchase the games, they should be able to play them however they want. And if they want to choose this platform over another, or this league over another, or maybe they play in 3 or 4 different leagues, why not let them do that? I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And then figuring out a positive way to decrease that digital divide that Jonathan's talking about, and help those lower income areas and the have-nots kind of level the playing field. And I think we're doing a really good job at that, especially this year. We've been putting in a lot of work the past few years to get to a point where we can provide pathways to funding for schools, for any school in the country. They just need to know about it, and we're trying to educate all of the schools in our network and those that join our platform and program on how to do that. And that means equipment, that means in school courses and classes, that means paying your coach a stipend, and so all of those things create a really positive foundation at the school. Whereas a club can be kind of fickle, like let's say a really passionate senior starts the club and then they graduate and then the club dies, right? We don't want that to happen. So we're trying to create a really solid foundation, and we think there's really positive ways to do that. And like I said before, getting the cost to zero to the student is very important, and passing that on to big corporations in terms of subsidizing it with sponsorship and all of these awesome programs that are out there for CTE courses, STEM courses, health and wellness.
Yeah.
There's so many grants and things that they can be taking advantage of. And then there's now COVID money. So it's best time right now, better than any time ever, to start an esports program. And we're just trying to educate people on that. And it doesn't matter, where you're from, how much money, your area has, anything like that. So
Yeah. I like your strategies, the lowering the digital divide, as you mentioned, making the cost zero for students. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I saw on Generation Esports on the site that you do provide credits for STEM, which I thought was dope. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Jonathan. Go ahead, please.
No, just real quick, I would say to everything Mason said, it all comes down to one word, which is support. And if we're going to be inclusive, it all comes down to supporting. So there's 3 key criteria in my mind for how to move forward, all of which are, to what Mason said. One, it's supporting through education. So you already mentioned the STEM credits over there, and we have curriculum that I don't know if we have enough time for Mason to go into, because I know he loves talking about that, but it is a very important thing for us, is supporting educators and providing education. The other support he talked about, which is supporting everybody in the industry, whether you're a small nonprofit or you're another big player, organizer like HSCL that we run here. We support you. And again, supporting our publishers and anybody involved. We have good relationship with all the publishers. So we want to continue to support them and support the students. And so all of that really just takes it back to, at the end of the day, it's all about support. And that's a key word, I think, for us going forward. So Mason, I'll let you answer that question there on the education, because I know I could talk about it, and I know you could talk about it even more.
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, I don't know if we have time, but I could talk about it all day. So I don't want to intrude.
Well, I was going to end it with this question. I was going to ask you to tell me about your proudest accomplishment that you've done with Generation Esports. And it sounds like this is something you're proud about, if you want to share it with us.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to describe the proudest. I think the proudest is just kind of making it to this point and affecting this many students' lives.
Right on.
That's easily the most. If you affect one kid, right? I mean, that's the dream. But yeah, I mean, the curriculum is so important to the space. I mean, it's key, right? It's a way that. So the way that this school system works is more kids that are taking this class, the more money the school gets. So it's actually a revenue driver for the school.
That's
As
awesome.
I mentioned, yeah, they can buy, computers, all the equipment that they need, which can be used for other things, not just gaming. It can be used for game design, computer science, video editing, production, streaming, all of that stuff. So it's multi-use. And then there's a career pathway that we're looking to create off of this course, which just brings more funding to the school. And if you can pay the coach and have a solid foundation at the school, then that's the way you're going to win. So That's the win-win-win, and I think that will probably end up being our most prideful accomplishment, I guess.
Yo, that's
But
awesome. And that makes me jealous. I wish there's something like that when I was in high school.
right, and
Taking advantage
it's
of
like
that.
it's crazy because you're using gaming to teach other things, right? And you get to actually play during class. So I mean, we have about 1,000 schools right now that are teaching the course across the country, and they all, I mean, on enrollment day, they all just fill up right away. And so they're like, okay, we need to hire new teachers. We need to hire more teachers to teach this class, and that's awesome for a school too, is to be able to hire more teachers, right? So
You're right. That's win, win, win.
yeah, it's truly it'll be a game changer for sure. And we have it on. It's all digitized, so it's scalable. You can use the app's called Game Plan. It's directly integrated with our platform, Generation Esports. So it's all linked up and ready to go.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing some more details about that. And Jonathan, tell us what you are really proud about accomplishing at Generation Esports.
Being one of the newest members here, I think proudest thing for me and why I came over is just the ability. I've seen the reaction and the passion of educators and students when they have to this. And again, having been around esports in some sense for a decade now, I think the proudest thing for me is seeing that I was fighting to, on the traditional sports side, to even get people to think that gamers are athletes and esports is the next big thing, and esports is just as lucrative as traditional sports, and lucrative not in the sense financially, but more so lucrative in the sense that it can effectively change a lot of people's lives. And being here for just a small amount of time, to see that passion, to see a lot of the stuff I've been talking about for a decade now really come to life. I can't tell you enough how much that means to me and how much it excites me every single day to wake up knowing that what we're doing is genuinely affecting the lives of so many people. And that's why we're here. And that's why we continue to literally bleed, sweat, and do everything we can to put on the best possible opportunities for students and educators.
Right on. I've just been smiling the whole time hearing you talk about your passion and what you're doing, pushing gaming forward for the future generation. Like a little part of me is jealous that those opportunities run around when I'm there, but I'm so proud to be connected and to witness it in my lifetime, and to feel like I'm a part of paving the way, even when we're talking to you and sharing what Generation Esports is doing for the community. So GLYFE Nation, make sure you follow Generation Esports. Make sure you check out Jonathan Schrader, one of the newest employees at Generation Esports. Congratulations on the new position, the VP of Growth. And of course, check out my boy Mason Mullineaux, the CEO and co-founder of Generation Esports. And he made it here by following his passion. So keep on doing what you love, put nothing above love, actually. And yeah, thanks for your time, Jonathan and Mason. And shout out to Monica too for connecting us. Until next time, peace.